Greetings. Welcome back to my channel. We are going to get into Put a Ring on It, Season 3, Episode 3 review entitled Double Standards. Here we have Dr. Nicole meeting back up with the couples to get a highlight basically on how the gentlemen's dates went. She started with Fonzo and Shay. Shay was just off the bat. She jumped out and said she did not like the fact that Fonzo was so excited when he saw this woman. So excited for someone that he didn't know. She was basically stressing. Hours went by. She was pacing and worried, talking about anything could have happened. Shay, chill. You signed up for this show, to get things on track, to see where you should go with this. So go with the flow, relax, sis. But Dr. Nicole took a mental note. She went on with the next couple. Now, here we have a Kenneth and Shorty. Definitely, I don't know why I cannot get into this woman's name. I don't even know what her real name is, but Shorty got to go. But anyway, Kenneth and Shorty, he discussed his first date. He wasn't in the right headspace the first time, but he was really looking forward to this next date. So he was, but he wanted something new. He just wasn't clicking. With the first woman, he felt, he wasn't attracted to her, even though she was nice. And Shorty pretty much agreed. She didn't think that he would be attracted to her. That basically wasn't his type. Now we go on to Otis and Char. Well, Otis thought that the girl was pretty cool. She had the same traditional, foundations that he had, nice conversation, but things just didn't click. So he was basically looking forward to a new date as well. One of the things that Char mentioned was, Otis basically likes to take control. She doesn't like the fact that he didn't say much about the date. Like she shared with hers. That's one of the downfalls to it all. He doesn't reveal. She thinks he's hiding something. And she said that's basically one of the breakdowns that they have. She thinks a lot of his conditionalism puts a breakdown in their communication. So we'll see how he goes with the next date. Now, back to Alfonso and Shay. He said as far as his date is concerned, the energy just wasn't there. So, he'll be on to someone new. Of course, Shay was definitely excited because she don't want him to go with anybody. That's one of our main things, trusting other women. So it doesn't matter whether it was the other young lady or somebody else. Definitely Shay doesn't like it, but she was happy that he didn't want to go on another date with her. I don't know how he felt about that, but knowing Alfonso, he probably want a little variety. He's around so many different women. So, he'll pass on that one. So we see how it goes. But these trust issues that she has with the with Alfonso, really she has to come to a turning point and really make some serious decisions. And that's one of the things that Dr. Nicole mentioned. Neither one of them will be going on another date. She's going to have a private counseling session with them, but they have to make some critical questions with these next couples. Okay, so now on to Shorty and Kenneth. Man, when Shorty opened up the door, she realized that his date, Maisha, guess what? Was her former intern. Yes, her former intern. She knew her. It was absolutely shocking. But, Kenneth was looking forward to the new date. He seemed more excited, cheerful. He was in a better headspace. But he's like, wait a minute. How do they know each other? And that's when Shorty went on to say that Maisha once worked for her. So now they're sitting on the couch, relaxing, preparing for the date, having a little small talk. And listen, old girl seems to be really comfortable. She says, to Shorty, Maisha's like, well, man, let the best woman win. I'm like, yo, girl, pump your brakes, slow your roll. This is somebody that was your superior at work that you was learning from. Now you going on a date with her husband. I think you need to be a little bit more humble about the situation. But Maisha didn't take it like that. She just said, before they left, hope he comes back. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, it's like that, sis? Okay, well, we see. They went on to their date. They had some seafood boil spot, and Maisha and Kenneth, she asked him when his birthday was. He told her, and then she realized that they are both fellow Geminis. Watch out. Two Geminis, they do no wrong. Geminis think they are it. You hear me? So they cheers to that. They are tearing up seafood, the crawfish. He's getting into it because I guess he is a crawfish connoisseur. He's telling her uh how she needs to eat the crawfish, suck the head off, and she's like, "Oh my God, okay, let me see. I don't know if I can do all this. I don't know if crawfish was really her thing." But she went and tackled it, and he said, you like a pro when it comes to eating this, stroking her little ego. So they was having their little chit chat session over some crawfish. Now she goes on to ask him about, what it is that he does. He says that he's an entrepreneur. Right now he's just doing some general contracting work. He's also a food blogger. Now I'm saying, Kenneth, maybe this is why you going in Shorty's account, because I really didn't feel that he was that stable and what it is that he did as far as work. Like, you're an entrepreneur, okay, that's great, but an entrepreneur at what? What exactly do you do? When he says right now he's doing a little contracting work, it didn't seem like it was something that was stable, something that he was gonna he does long term. I don't know. Seems like Kenneth is in between jobs, maybe. I don't know. But she seemed to be into him. That didn't matter. She was like great, especially the food blogger thing really excited her. Kenneth, so how he was tearing up that crawfish. He seemed to be enjoying food blogging. So they're up there flirting or whatever. She was telling him, he was talking to her about one of his biggest flaws, and that's basically that he has a big heart. He's always doing a lot, but it's never enough. Okay, Kenneth. Maisha was like, well, that seems like you seem like you the perfect catch, flirting with him. He's sweating, blushing and whatnot. But I'm like, listen, sis, you just met him. You have no idea what sis been going through. Now we go on to Otis. He's meeting his date at the stables. They going horseback riding. He's looking forward to this new date. And so he's coming through the stables right now, and he's going to meet a young lady by the name of Milan. Milan, aka DJ Millhouse. Yes, DJ Millhouse is also from Atlanta. One of the things that Otis liked was, he knows the high school that she went to. They both grew up in Decatur. He was surprised with that. So they really seem to be gelling as far as likes and similarities. I think that camaraderie of where they both grew up at, Otis appreciated that. Milan looked pretty, on the young side, but I guess she just has that young face. I don't know how she's gonna do old Otis, because I guess he likes it like that. Char has a young face too, so maybe he likes that little girl personality that he can basically mold and shape to the way, he likes it. Because, Otis is a big, dominating individual, always wants to take charge of everything. And that's one of the problems now in his relationship. Well, after horseback riding, they have a little sit down, have a little wine, chit chat. They spoke on where they got, their names. She asked him, what is he like doing? He said golf, fishing, jet skiing, boating, working out. She's like, oh, I see you like to work out. He was like, oh, yeah. Get her little flirt on. He asked her where she got her name. She said, from her mom, because of the place, Milan. I guess her mother liked to travel there. And she asked him where he got his. He said, from his dad. She said, you look like an Otis. I'm like, oh, really? That old man name? She talking about that's a strong black man. I'm like, no, that's an old black man. Stop stroking him. Who 20-something-year-old naming their child Otis? I wouldn't even do that to my child. So let's just chill on that one, sis. I said, no, that's an old black man named Old Otis. So they continued with their conversation, and she was telling him what, he was doing later on. She invited him to a party or an event, I guess, that she's DJing at, probably at a club, and told him to stop on by. I'm like, sis, Otis is not stopping by, so you can forget that. But hey, the invite was out there. Now we go to the counseling session. Woo! Let me tell you something. Shay really poured in something on Dr. Nicole. She talked about how she was upset with Fonzo's conduct, sharing with some of the incidences that she's had with him in the past. See, Fonzo works for manages Rick Ross. He's around a lot of women in the entertainment business, and he's dealing with a lot of women that she doesn't like. He's been around women, done things for women in front of her face. She's had several phone calls with women contacting her, a whole lot of disrespect. And, this really weighed heavy, I'm sure, on Dr. Nicole. She said a woman had contacted her before, and that seems to be a problem. Alfonso doesn't do anything about it. He doesn't, introduce her to the women, none of that. Infidelity isn't an issue to him, which she doesn't like. She said there was an issue with a woman on social media. This woman basically said, with a picture with her and Alfonso, that this was the love of her life. Yes, hugged up on him, talking about the love of her life. I was like, excuse me? This is going entirely too far. I don't even think that Shay needs to come on a show to find out if this relationship is going to work. He doesn't introduce you to the mother or any of the family members. He goes on vacations with his children's mother, who his mother is close to, and she doesn't get introduced to them at all. There's several red flags why she needs to get to stepping. I mean, maybe that lifestyle she likes, but this is what she signed up for when she got with Alfonso. I'm sure he was doing this before and she knew it. But the disrespect, is going a little too far. And one of the things Dr. Nicole said, how he governs himself speaks on how, he honors himself and you. Because if he doesn't set any good boundaries, if he has no good boundaries, they are going to basically rot shot over him. Basically shoot their shot is what she was saying. They are going to come after him because he doesn't value his woman. He doesn't value their relationship. He has no boundaries and he's not protecting it from these other women. And that is a serious problem. And that's what's going to happen. And Fonzo's trying to, justify, he's nice and friendly and he basically has no control over what these other women do. But you can control yourself and the limit you set on them on how far they go with you, Fonzo. And that's something you have not done in the 3.5 years you was with your woman. Shay, doesn't deserve this. And she really needs to think about what's going to happen going forward. Women love him. He can't control it. And, that's something he has to work on, not being so friendly. And Shay said to Dr. Nicole, that sounds great, if he would do that. But what he says, if he does what he says, but that's not the case. He doesn't do that. She said, look at this face. He's smiling. He's charming. He loves how these women come at him. She said she doesn't want him, with women outside of the business. But she can't even use the word friend, just see them as, which that's all they should be to him, as friends and associates or, business associates or whatever. But she's, careful to choose the words because he'll get out of hand with it. So good luck on that, Shay. Now we have Brent here. This is Char's new date, introduced by old Otis when she came in. Nice guy, Brent. One of the things Char had when she was talking to Brent, same old thing. He doesn't want to talk about the date. He says she's a nice person. They had a good time, great conversation. One of the highlights is that it makes him want to go horseback riding again. But as always, she was insecure on those statements because it's very minimal. He gives very little information. So she gets introduced to Brett and they are on their way to the date. One of the things that Otis mentioned as he was opening the door, bringing him in, was that, he saw a little bit of sophistication, more class. His brother was more polished than Meta was. So I think he may be a little bit more intimidated with Brett. Brett definitely has it together. They went to a pasta making class and it was beautiful. The flowers and rose petals was everywhere. She was very impressed. He thinks that, she likes him and the vibe was going good. They're making their pasta. They're having a little chit chat conversation and it seems to be going really nice. The ambiance is set and, he's, a very articulate brother. So Otis really needs to watch out because, I think he has a little competition here. So they're sitting down talking, and she asks him, what does he do? He says, he's into politics. He's looking to run for Congress. And she was really, impressed by that. Like, wow. And he said, yeah, one of the platforms he's targeting is economics in the Black community. And she was like, wow, I think that's great. And, just the expression on her face, with someone, who's very intelligent, well put together. She said she was attracted to him. And that's real key, because she didn't say that about Meta. So she likes how he looks. Nice looking chocolate brother, bald head. So I guess that's her type. So what Char's whole issue is as well, and that is submission. And she asked him about that, and he said, he wasn't really into that word. He didn't like the word submission. He doesn't like how it feels. He believes it's a relationship, and one just shouldn't be submitting to the other. Both should submit to one another. He wants it where if his wife doesn't want to work, she doesn't have to, but that's her option if she has something else she wants to do. And, as you can see here on Char's face, she was very impressed by that statement. That's one of the things she said that Otis should do. He can be traditional, but value her input, what she wants to do, her ideas, her thoughts. I don't think Otis really cares about how she feels on things, what her opinion is, because it's all about Otis's view, his perspective, what he wants, how he feels his relationship should be guided. And it's not really a partnership that she's feeling in this. Now you have Hollywood and Shorty out on their second date. He was excited. He asked her, what made you want to go out with me on a second date? She said, well, we had a nice conversation before, and you are nice on the eyes. She basically want to say, you fine, Hollywood. I had to see you again, my brother. So he was cheesing. He was excited about that. He was like, listen, what is up? What's going on with you and your man? Like, like, what's the deal? She knows that there's problems, or she would never be on the show. Well, she said, did you ever try to leave? What is it? So she said, listen, I tried to lead his brother so many times. She said he was waiting around the corner for her, follow her to her new place. She couldn't get rid of him, which I think is absolutely crazy. I think Kenneth is stalkerish. I think she brought him on the show to get rid of him and bring him to another woman, to be honest with you. She said she talked to, two groups of her friends. One was like, get rid of him. No, that's crazy. Another friend was like, oh, when I left my man, he didn't even care. Like that was something cute. I'm like, no, that's toxic. That's not healthy. If she was done, he should have respected that. So during the conversation, he said, did an analogy of a dog. Like if you keep teaching, a dog, you putting his face in the mess and he's still not learning the lesson, you got to get rid of that dog. And it's like, what's up with your man? He hasn't learned his lesson. And he said that life is too short not to be happy. Her man needs to get his life together. And that's the truth. He prayed over the meal, and she said, oh my God, this is what she been dreaming of. He's like the answer to a prayer. God-fearing man, he's on the usher board, he mentioned to her. He got himself together as far as, working on himself. And she said she doesn't know where it's going to stand between her and Hollywood, but one of the things that he showed her was that there's something else better out there. And that's definitely the case, Shay. You don't have to stay in a situation that's toxic, that's almost borderline criminal with this man, and it's time to move on. Now, you have Dr. Nicole here with the group. Again, she's, listening to, how things went. She's basically, back having a discussion. She talked with Otis and Char on how things are going. And basically, Char was talking about how uncomfortable she was, with him not opening up, having a double standard and not sharing with her. And when they go into discussions, it's like she's being scolded. Like, what is he doing? If you see the body language with Char a lot of times, like she's a little child and he's her dad. If you look at it like now, is he dominates her, and she's gonna develop contempt for him. He doesn't want to see anything wrong that he does. And that's one of the things that Dr. Nicole was talking about. She said that last week. You got to look at the perspective of the other person. Because one of the things is, if she feels like she's being scolded, why does she feel that way? He's like, she always talking about, she's feels like she's scolded. And, she said that before, even when I don't scold her. But why? She said, because one of the things Dr. Nicole said, if you don't nip this in the bud, it's going to be like a root, that's going to eat their relationship alive. And the whole group agreed to that, so you really have to learn to listen. She said, you can take it or let it alone. You don't have to receive it, but just digest it. Just take it in. So that was episode 3. Can't wait till next week. Until next time, peace, family. Have a great